hello everyone this afternoon. A couple of things I would like to cover is a bit of background and context to the project Bikes for Refugee Scotland, which pretty much does what it says in the tin. Also to introduce you to some new Scots refugees that we support, but particularly highlighting just the impact that a simple thing such as the humble bicycle, something that I'm sure you and I might very much take for granted. It's a fun, enjoyable thing to do. It gets us from A to B. But for many new Scots, refugees, for various reasons, the bicycle can really make a massive difference in people's daily lives. So I'd like to introduce you just to some of the people that we support, and also lastly, just to say something just about the various ways in which we involve and engage new Scots across the project in terms of planning and in terms of delivering just all of our activities as well. So the story of Bikes for Refugees really started with myself meeting Ymen, who was a young refugee 6 years ago, a refugee from Damascus in Syria. Ymen had just newly arrived to the UK and Scotland and Edinburgh, and was in the process of setting up a new home for himself here in Edinburgh. And as part of Ymen trying to engage with his local community and meet new people, Ymen bought himself an old beat up bicycle off of Gumtree. I think it cost him about 10 or 15 pounds, but it was more of a bike shaped object than a functional bicycle. So I took Ymen and his bike shaped object down to my local bike shop, not far from where I'm sitting here just now in Leith in Edinburgh, where we now have one of our community refugee bike hubs, to see if we could get Ymen's bicycle fixed up and on the road for him. To cut a long story short, the bicycle wasn't worth repairing, but the guy who owned the bike project shop very kindly donated a bicycle to Ymen. And I, over the coming weeks and months, just simply noticed how a simple thing, as I say, as a humble bicycle, just made quite an impactful difference in Ymen's daily life. It helped Ymen to connect with a whole range of community services. It helped him to meet with new people, to access meetings with the Home Office and his legal reps, volunteering opportunities, work opportunities, etc., etc. And you'll see examples of some of that when I come on to introduce you to some of the new Scots refugees that we have supported. So fast forward, we've now been a registered charity for just over 5 years, since April 2017. We're now operating from 2 community hubs, one here that I mentioned in Leith and Edinburgh, and one in Govan and Glasgow. Since that first bicycle that was donated to Ymen by the person who owned the bike shop, we have now distributed nearly 2,000 bikes, over 1,700 bikes to new Scots. And to put that into context, that's 1,700 bikes that have been mostly donated by communities, 1,700 bikes that have been refurbished and fixed up by our hardworking and dedicated volunteers. And a lot of our volunteers are also asylum seekers and refugees as well. And I'll just... So although we operate from 2 community hubs in Edinburgh and Glasgow, we will try and get bikes to people anywhere across Scotland, if we're able to do that, if the resources allow us to do that. And a couple of years ago, we received a request from 4 families, 4 new recently arrived families in Ellen, just outside of Aberdeen in Aberdeenshire. So we, within we were contacted directly by the families, and within a couple of days, we managed to get 18 bikes. I think it was 8 adults and 10 children, and here's some photographs and some quotes from some of these families. This is Zozan. Zozan is a refugee. She was an asylum seeker from Turkey, a journalist who fled persecution for speaking out against the Turkish government. And Zozan has been in Edinburgh now, I think, for about 4 or 5 years. And here's a quote. You can see it in front of you, but I'll just read it out. And the bike provides me with mobility and easy access to all parts of the city without being dependent buying expensive bus tickets. If you are an asylum seeker, you're not allowed to work and have an allowance of just over £5 a day. It's also very important for personal health. When you don't have time and money to go for gym and swimming, cycling makes you always active. Having a bike makes your life easier and healthier. And yeah, if not many people realise, but if you're an asylum seeker in the UK, legally, you're not allowed to seek paid employment, regardless of the skills and experience and the qualifications that you might bring with you. But you also can't claim state benefits. So the idea of immigrants and refugees coming over here and sort of claiming all sorts of benefits couldn't be further from the truth. You're given an allowance of just over £5 a day for all your daily living expenses. So for your food, for your clothes, for your toiletries, and also for expensive public transport costs. And it's not unusual. We know many people who are having to make difficult choices between being able to put food on the table and the cost of expensive public transport costs to access meetings with the Home Office and the legal reps or essential health services. This is Meddy. Meddy was also one of the first recipients of bikes from the charity over 4 years ago now, and this is actually one of my favourite quotes. Bikes for Refugees tries to make the world a brighter place by welcoming new Scots with a bike to explore the city and lots of new places in Scotland. Bikes provide free travel and make it easier to travel to places like college and volunteering. And for those that are alone and have lost their families, they help to meet new people and make new friends. It's a fun and healthy activity. And when we give people a bike, we invite them to a WhatsApp cycling group where you can meet many people from many different countries with people from Scotland. And I was wanting to highlight Meddy as well, because one of the ways in which people also get involved in the delivery of our activities is also through volunteering as well. So Meddy was a recipient of the project. We gave him a bike, and he took an interest in what we were doing, became a volunteer. We put Meddy through nationally accredited bike mechanic training. And Meddy actually, he's no longer volunteering with us as much, but he actually went on to set up his own community bike project, fixing up bikes and giving bikes to not just other refugees and asylum seekers, but anybody within communities who couldn't afford access to bikes. So also a nice story. And also, in Meddy's quote there, he mentions a WhatsApp cycling group. And that's another way in which we engage with people as well. So when we give people a bike, we also invite them into our WhatsApp group. And actually I think that group must have at least a couple hundred members now, of not just New Scots, but also people from a whole range of refugee support projects. So it's a great forum for sharing information, particularly during the pandemic, when a lot of New Scots refugees, weren't able to access the same kind of information about what was happening, around COVID, at the start in early 2020. So it provided a really good, useful, valuable, it's a forum for us to be able to share a whole range of information, and not just information about cycling and cycling groups. Yeah, so back to Ymen, and just to give. So my bike helped me when I first came to Scotland to make my new home here, when I didn't know anyone or where to go. Asylum seekers have only very limited funds available, so having a bike can help people like me access employment and their community. I use my bike all the time to get around the city from my home to my work, and to my college and to volunteer for projects. For lots of journeys, even shopping, I use my bike. Please help us by donating a bike by fundraising. Bikes can and do make a difference to Scots lives. So Ymen is now well settled in Edinburgh. He's now working full time. He still uses his bike. In fact, he's onto his second bike now that we've given Ymen. And Ymen is also a trustee on our board of directors. So Ymen is very much involved in helping to inform and shape the future direction of the project as well. So I will leave it there and happy to answer any questions that people have.